Hi, this is Michael Buffer, and welcome to the BoxHard Podcast.
Hello, everyone. This is Mikey Garcia.
This the monster from the swamps, Regis Ruru Program.
Hey, what's up? This is King Carlos Molina, former IBF world champ.
This is Michael, the Bounty Hunter, 2012 Olympian and your people's champ.
This is Charlie Edwards, flyweight champion of the world.
This is Fast Eddie Chambers, and you're listening to the BoxHard Podcast with my main man, Joet Gonzalez.
Hello everybody and welcome to episode 209 of the BoxHard Podcast. I'm your host Joey Coastman. I'm joined this week, as always, by the elusive Mr. Ayaz Sumra. Ayaz, how you doing?
I'm good, Joe. Yourself?
Very good, my friend, very good. Right, let's dive straight into the review part of the show. I am hoping that we don't have any sound issues. Sometimes it might sound a little bit like in the background there's like a kind of... I don't really know how to describe the noise. Maybe like a little white noise in the background sometimes. That is because Ayaz has damaged his laptop, so we're having a couple of minor issues. Hopefully they don't bother anyone too much, but we're not going to go in too deep on the review part of the show. We're going to just keep it kind of light, so it shouldn't take too long this week's show. We're going to start in Italy at the Pala Trento. Two fights, I believe, to mention over here. Firstly, the top of the bill, Fabio Turchi. He was a big favourite going in against Tommy McCarthy. Tommy McCarthy 15-2 going in, and Turchi 17-0. Like I say, Turchi was known a little bit to the British fans if you saw him beat Tony Conquest a few months ago. The fight ended up with a split decision over 12 rounds in favour of Tommy McCarthy, the big underdog. It was for the WBC International Cruiserweight title, so you'd expect now Tommy McCarthy to get a world ranking there in the top 15 with the WBC perhaps, and it's really what his career needed, because Tommy McCarthy's had a couple of losses. Like I mentioned, he's got the two losses. He's been a bit unlucky. He's got a lot of ability, but I feel like he, thus far in his career, has underachieved. There was a lot of talk of him being a top fighter when he was undefeated, and a few bad nights have cost him. A lot of people have stopped talking about him now, but this win here, is the biggest win of his career, so hopefully he can build from that. Best of luck to him. Also on that bill, we got to see Francesco Grandelli, 12-1 with one draw going in. Another split decision, but this time in favour of the home fighter, Grandelli. He was able to beat our very own Ruiz Bellotti. His record now 14-3. He looked a little bit flat, to be honest, Bellotti. It was for the WBC International Super-Featherweight title. Not quite sure, again, where Ruiz Bellotti goes from here. When he was Commonwealth champion, he looked brilliant early on, and for whatever reason, it just seems like he's just gone downhill a little bit, unfortunately, Ruiz Bellotti. I really, really like him, though. I think he's got a real well-paid job outside of boxing, but he just loves to fight, so he puts it all on hold to box. And, he's a guy that doesn't do it for the money. In this day and age, not many fighters are like that. It's good to see a guy like him who's had many big opportunities on big shows and stuff like that, and he's completely doing it for the love of the sport. That's what Ruiz Bellotti does. Credit to him, but another bad night, unfortunately, if we're being completely honest. Moving out now to the Ulster Hall in Belfast, Northern Ireland, United Kingdom. How many fights do we have over here? Perhaps two. Yeah, just two, I think. Friend of the show, former world champion Terry Flanagan. He picked up win number 35. Of course, he's got the two losses to Regis Prograis and Maurice Hooker. No shame in those. He got a win against Michael Anser, who's now 17-10 with two draws. Anser was actually disqualified in the fourth round of a scheduled 8. Anser had a point deducted in the third round for hitting after the break, and he did exactly the same thing in the following round, and that was it. He was thrown out of there, so Terry Flanagan picks up a win. And topping the bill, A brilliant fight here between Jay Harris and Paddy Barnes. I think it was the third round. I think that was the round where I honestly thought it was an argument there for round of the year. It was for the vacant IBF Intercontinental Flyweight title again. Jay Harris was cut above his right eye in the third round. Barnes was down from a left to the body, and that was in the third. And of course he was knocked out in the fourth round. Paddy Barnes, another blistering body shot for him to take, and he couldn't do it in the end. I mean, we did go to the predictions on this. The listeners favoured Paddy Barnes really big. I was quite surprised. Ayaz, you also went with Barnes to win that one. I went with Harris on points because I didn't think he'd probably have the power actually to get Barnes out of there, and I felt like it'd be a very motivated Barnes. Perhaps it was, he did show heaps and heaps of courage in that fight, Paddy Barnes. He fought fire with fire when he was hurt, and there was some real exciting moments, but you've got to be honest now, Paddy Barnes, Olympic bronze medalist, very, 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 very good amateur, turned over. A lot of people were saying he's a future world champion for sure, and it's just gone horribly wrong so quickly. So his record now is 6-3. And I mean, you've got to probably encourage him to hang him up. I mean, he hasn't took many big punches to the head or anything since turning pro. Most of his shots that have hurt him and stopped him have been body shots. So it's not like he's took heaps of punishment upstairs. It's very much been body shots. But I don't know what he needs to do. I mean, he probably is filled with ego and pride and stuff like that. Being a top amateur, he thought he'd be a top pro, and it's just gone completely wrong, like I say. But a brilliant win for Jay Harris, now 17-0. Looks like a real threat, I've got to be honest. I'd love to see him mix it with an Andrew Selby. I'd love to see him mix it with a Sonny Edwards, though I don't see that happening because I think both guys are friends. Paddy Barnes, I would have liked to seen him in there with someone like a Sonny Edwards or, again, like an Andrew Selby. There's lots and lots of domestic fights that can be made there at flyweight. We want to see those fights. But Jay Harris, ticking all the boxes, really could be one to watch. It's amazing. It's amazing. Anyone who listens from Wales, I don't know what it is. If it's something in the water over there or whatever. But I tell you what, in Wales, for such a small place, they don't half produce some serious talent. I mean, it is incredible. Some of the best fighters ever have been from Wales. In terms of British fighters, they've been Welsh, like a Joe Calzaghe. There's only been a short list of names, actually, British Welsh world champions. There's a short list of names. Barry Jones, of course, one of those names on the short list. But I tell you what, they've provided some brilliant talent over the last sort of, I'd say, 50 years, something like that. They've had tremendous fighters. Anyway, moving on. Let's move out now to Connecticut at the Connecticut Convention Center. Let's start here with Chad Dawson. He topped the bill. In fact, he's the only fight to mention on the bill. He's now 36-5. It was a unanimous decision win over 8 rounds. He completely shut out Denis Grachev, who's now 19-9 with 1 draw. That was for the vacant WBC United States light heavyweight title. Sorry, I said just one fight. There is a second fight I should mention. Friend of the show, Cassius Chaney, picked up win number 17, a first round knockout against Santander Silgado, who's now 28-8. Cassius Chaney, again a heavyweight that I think I probably interviewed back in 2016 or 2017. No, 2015 or 2016. Very, very early days of the podcast. And I got on really well with him. I remember after the interview finished, we were talking for quite some time. We couldn't get off the phone. And I thought, do you know what? I want to pay attention to him because I know he'd sparred some good fighters at the time. I think he was over here with the Furies for a little while. And he sparred a lot of top guys. He was signed to main events. I remember we had Caffey Duver on the show talking just a little bit about him. And he's just been winning and winning and winning. He's been knocking people out along the way. And this one was a highlight reel knockout. It really was a contender for knockout of the year. So shout out to Cassius Chaney. Definitely one to watch. Real lovely guy. And we wish him the best for the future. Moving out now to the first direct arena in Leeds, Yorkshire, United Kingdom, Ayaz. I'm going to start here with the undercard. A few fights just to go over. What did we have? Mark Heffron, actually. A brilliant win for him. It was his 24th win. He's got the one loss, of course, to Liam Williams, I believe it was. Was it Liam Williams? I think it was. Well, anyway, he took on Rui Pavanito, a guy that's been in there with the likes of Martin Murray and Craig Richards. Both men went the distance with Pavanito, by the way. His record's 10-9 with 1 draw. It doesn't look too great, but they couldn't do anything with him. And Pavanito had big moments against Craig Richards. I didn't see the Martin Murray fight, but I think that was quite a tough one as well. And Mark Heffron's got in there and knocked him out in a round. So that's a huge statement there, even though, again, people are not going to know this name, Pavanito. You know, if you don't follow the sport too closely, his record's now 10-10 with a draw. It doesn't look too great, but believe me, that is a statement there to stop him in 1 round. He's a tough guy from Portugal there. Troy Williamson moved to 12-0 with 1 draw. It was a TKO in the 7th round against Ben Douglas, who was actually undefeated, 2-0 himself. He loses his O there, now 2-1. He was down twice in the fight. Shabazz Massoud, another guy that certainly seems to be one to watch. Ben Davison, has talked about him before. I think he's trained by Asgi, who was part of Team Fury. Shabazz Massoud now 6-0. It was a 6-round points win against Yesna Talavera, who's now 15 and 12 with 1 draw. It was a complete shutout there for Massoud. So, like I say, one to watch for the future there. Lyndon Arthur picked up a win. He's now 16-0, a unanimous decision over 12 rounds against Emmanuel Anim, who's now 14-3 with 1 draw. It wasn't a walk in the park, though, for Arthur. He was cut above the left eye in the 8th round. Anim had some big moments, even though he was cut on his left and right eye. He was down in the 4th round as well. He gave a real hard task there to Arthur, and it wasn't easy. Like I say, it was for the vacant Commonwealth light heavyweight title. Arthur had to really dig deep there, and to be honest, he showed he's got that grit, which is a good thing to have early on in your career. He's ticked a box there. Also on the bill, Zelfa Barrett picked up win number 23. He's got that 1 loss, of course, to Ronnie Clark. It was a TKO here in the 9th round against Jordan McCory, the guy with the biggest set of balls in the super featherweight division domestically. He's now 18-7 with 1 draw. McCory was down 3 times in the fight, and he had 1 point deducted at the end of the 8th round. For punching after the bell. Zelfa Barrett, we knew he was going to win the fight, to be honest. Obviously, McCory didn't have much notice when he took on Sam Bowen. He got stopped. He fought Archie Sharp. Archie didn't stop him. He went the distance. Zelfa Barrett's not known for his knockout power, so I expected Jordan McCory to probably survive the distance. I thought that Zelfa Barrett would win quite wide on points, but no, credit to him, like I say, for getting him out of there. Again, the body shots was the factor here. I think all 3 knockdowns were from body shots. Again, it was for the Commonwealth Super Featherweight title. Again, Zelfa Barrett, one of the very best we've got at Super Featherweight. I'd love to see some big fights for him down the line with Archie Sharp and Sam Bowen. We did go to the predictions on that one once again. We all went with Barrett on points, so we all got that one wrong, along with the Harrison Barnes fight. So not doing well at the moment there on the predictions. But yeah, Zelfa Barrett reminds me a little bit of Chris Eubank Jr. I did tweet this out, and I just want to kind of back up why I said it. I said it because Chris Eubank Jr. is not known for his knockout power, really. I know he's got a few stoppages from cumulative shots and stuff like that, but he's not really known for his one-punch power. Zelfa Barrett, again, not known as a big puncher, but just the way that both men whip the shots in, it looks so vicious. They look even more vicious than perhaps a puncher would rip a shot in, I know Golovkin looks like a devastating puncher all the time, but his shots don't always travel a long way, and that's probably what I'm getting at here. The shots that Zelfa Barrett lands, they come from a long way. They look absolutely vicious, and of course, Eubank Jr. does the same thing. You just wouldn't want to be on the receiving end of any of those shots. But no, credit to Zelfa Barrett. Probably does hit a lot harder than his record suggests. I'd like to know now if Jordan McCory still says Archie Sharp is the strongest and the hardest puncher out of the guys he's boxed. So I'd like to see if he thinks that that's still the same, or does Zelfa hit harder, or is Zelfa stronger? It'd be interesting to know the answer to that question. And topping the bill, Josh Warrington Ayaz, now 30-0, a perfect record, a second round TKO against Sofiane Takouch. It was for Warrington's IBF World Featherweight title, a defence there for him. Takouch down twice in that second and final round. His record now 35-4 with 1 draw. It was his big 40th fight, but it wasn't to be his night in the end. to be honest, Ayaz, it was a bit of a formality. We knew that it was a step down in terms of the recent opponents Warrington's took on. Like I say, credit to him. Frampton, Galahad, and Selby, all in a row pretty much. I think I've said it the wrong way round, but tough fights. He was due a little easy touch, and that's what it was really. But he did look impressive because, again, he's not known for his power, Warrington, but he got the stoppage. It seems like that was a bit of a fashion last weekend.
I mean, it was a great performance by Josh Warrington. Obviously, he's not known for his knockout power, and his great stoppage as well. And obviously, like you said as well previously, like you said just now, he's been on a crazy run. He's beaten Selby, went beaten Frampton. He's beaten Kid Galahad. The two former champions and one world title challenger, and you can tell they've been he's had 3 difficult fights. Now I think it's for him is to have a unification fight. They did say about something about Gary Russell Jr., but he only fights once a year. Or there was another fight, I can't remember his name, what Frank Warren said, for the WBA, and I think that'd be a very good fight.
Yeah, I mean, Leo Santa Cruz is a guy they've been trying to get in the ring for a while. We will be speaking to Shakur Stevenson later on in the show. I'll definitely put it to him as he's fighting for the vacant WBO title that, of course, Oscar Valdez recently vacated. But yeah, you're right, Warrington seems to really thrive as well under his Leeds fans. They seem to lift him, and all of his shots were perfectly timed. I mean, he was a level above, as we knew, but it was still a statement to stop a guy like that early when, the guy had never been stopped. And yeah, you're right. I want a quick turnaround, really. I want to see Warrington out early next year, perhaps January or February, and yeah, make the big fights. He did earn himself an easy touch, and he made it look too easy. So very, very impressive again from Warrington. I think he become the fighter of the year or whatever in Britain. I don't know if it was a Boxing Writers Award or something like that. I can't remember what it was now. I think he got an award, and he deserves it, and he's proved it once again that he's a brilliant champion, and he's going to be a very hard man to beat. But swiftly moving on now to the Wintrust Arena in Chicago, Illinois, USA, an Eddie Hearn show. Right, a couple fights to mention. Anthony Sims Jr. picked up a win, a TKO in the 6th round. He's now 20-0. That one was against Morgan Fitch, who's 19-4 with a draw. Anthony Sims Jr., a guy, again, that I really want to see stepped up. Also on the bill, Jessica McCaskill against Erica Farias. The first fight they had, I think, was a real barn burner. The second fight ended up being a majority decision in favour of McCaskill again. She's now 8-2. That one was for the WBC and WBA World Female Super Lightweight titles. Erica Farias now 26-4. Also on the bill, TJ Doheny. He moved 22-1. A TKO for him in the 6th round against Jesus Martinez, who's now 26-10. Again, Doheny certainly, a guy that we want to see in the bigger fights. Very, very classy fighter, Doheny from Ireland. Also on the bill, Ofer Jones Jr. Didn't look too great, to be honest. A majority decision over 4 rounds against Eric Manriquez, who had a losing record, 7-8 with 1 draw going in, now 7-9. Ofer Jones got the win, but it wasn't easy, and that was quite shocking to think how good of an amateur Jones was. Perhaps he's taken his time on that transition from amateur to pro. And the 2 main events on this bill, these are the last 2 fights to mention. Dimitri Bivol, a win for him, now 17-0. A unanimous decision over 12 rounds against Lenin Castillo, now 20-3 with 1 draw. A complete shutout there for Bivol. A defence successful of his WBA World Light Heavyweight title. Not that impressive, Ayaz, for a casual fan. And I almost want to say for a hardcore fan as well, to be honest. He seems like technically a brilliant fighter. Exceptional technical fighter. But he doesn't seem to want to put his foot on the gas when he doesn't need to. I don't think he cares too much about what the crowd or what the fans think about him. It's very much safety first with Bivol. And I respect that to a degree. I said that. I really do like the Klitschko's for not really caring about what fans wanted. They're not going to, risk getting knocked out to try and chase a knockout themselves. I do respect that to a certain level, but Klitschko, I'd like to think, made fights a little bit more interesting than Bivol did the other night. And Bivol is a friend of the show. I think he's arguably the best fighter at 175, but it was very hard to watch at times. Someone tweeted out, I really should mention who it was because I've forgotten, and they deserve a mention actually, but someone tweeted that Dimitri Bivol's like a Ferrari that only goes 50 mile an hour. And I think that's a brilliant tweet, to be honest, because you know he's got the goods, you know he's legit, but sometimes he just doesn't connect with his killer instinct. He doesn't go looking for the knockout when he perhaps could get it. And Lenin Castillo managed to go the distance. He is a tough guy, so it's not really a surprise, but you just feel like Bivol could have done a bit more to impress, but then again, he did win every round. So without knocking someone out, that is the best thing you can do. So a bit critical from me, but also a bit of love as well. You know, a bit of appreciation for true boxing.
Yeah, I mean, it was a good. It's an average performance by Dimitri Bivol, but I mean, I don't know what to say about him, to be fair, because I mean, it wasn't the best performance. Obviously, he got one knockdown, but I mean, he got the win. They did say there is something about talking about him versus Josh Boatsy.
Yeah, I mean, that's a fight that I would love to see. You know, Boatsy's been talked about, like I say, as a definite future world champ. So bring it on, you know, bring it on. And a performance like that the other night, will probably get people saying, do you know what, Boatsy's got a real good chance. In my honest opinion, I don't think that Boatsy would be able to win that fight. I don't think it's that competitive, but I could be wrong. And I'd love Boatsy to win. Again, I grew up on the same estate as Boatsy. I want to see him succeed in the sport, but, you know, one step at a time. And he knows that he's a smart guy. His team are a smart team, so should be interesting, but it might just be a bit too early there for Boatsy. You know, there's a lot of good fights that can be made. How about Anthony Yarde against a Bivol? You know, that'd be interesting. But the main event here, Ayaz, the heavyweight debut of Alexander Usyk, now 17-0. His opponent, Chaz Witherspoon, pulled out after 7 rounds. I don't really think he wanted to know anymore. He had the, I suppose, the stubbornness beaten out of him as the fight went on. It was really all Usyk. I mean, he got caught here and there with the odd shot. Witherspoon's a big guy. He's a little bit crafty as well, Witherspoon, a lot craftier than what he got given credit for going in. A whole heap of wins, 38-3 Witherspoon, now 38-4. So as a pro, he's a lot more experienced than Alexander Usyk, and he showed Alexander Usyk perhaps something Usyk hasn't seen for a while. You know, that true craftiness, that experience. And to be honest, Witherspoon's, talking of pubs now, Witherspoon's judge of distance was quite impressive for a guy that I was expecting to be quite rusty, and, you know, out of shape and, you know, old. I think he's 37, 38 years of age. But again, Usyk had an operation. Usyk was out of the ring for a long time. I think it was almost a year. You know, I did say on last week's show, Usyk could perhaps blow him out real early, or he could carry him rounds, and to me it seemed like he did the latter. It seemed like he wanted to bank those rounds, he wanted to shake off the ring rust, and he did it. So it wasn't the most impressive thing in the world, because he didn't starch him like Deontay Wilder would. You know, it wasn't the most impressive thing in the world because he didn't play with him and you know, start kissing him when they were in close like Fury did. But it was a workmanlike performance, and it was a professional kind of performance. You know, he controlled everything, he won every round, and he just had a little look at him. He had a little look at him, he gave him a couple of chances, and that was what he wanted to do. You know, he wanted to take a few shots, I guess, off the big guy, see what the power's like, and it was a fine toe dipping, if you like, of the heavyweight division for Usyk. So people are getting on the bandwagon of hate, as they always do. You know, if they're not impressed with one performance, all of a sudden he's absolutely useless. Bellew was beating him. Fury's going to beat him easy. I read nothing into that. You know, boxing fans seem to have real short memories. Thankfully, we don't, Ayaz. I wouldn't say I was overly impressed. It just was what it was. It was a good enough performance to beat Chaz Witherspoon, who, you know, like I say, had more experience, only had a couple of losses, was unbeaten for a number of years. I'm okay with it. It didn't excite me in any way, but it was what it was. I'm okay with it. No complaints, no over-the-top celebrations, really. How did you think that Usyk looked yourself?
I mean, it was a standard performance of Alexander Usyk. I mean, obviously, it was his first step up at heavyweight in the heavyweight division. we've seen him fight at cruiserweight where he annihilated everyone. But now I want him to be stepped up. I would like to see that for him fight that Carlos Takam again. I think that'd be a very good fight.
Yeah, a fight that we never got to see. Yeah, he did annihilate everyone at cruiserweight, to be honest with you. I think because I think it's the WBO. I think he becomes mandatory pretty much when he wants to with the WBO. So a lot of people are saying he's going to probably wait on the Ruiz and Joshua fight, and whoever wins that fight, he will then trigger his mandatory and have to fight for the WBO belt. Again, would you want to, if you had the WBA, IBF and WBO belts, would you probably just vacate one to not fight Usyk perhaps? So Usyk might end up fighting for a vacant belt, which is going to be a bit annoying, but the future will pan out as it does. I think that's everything though for the review part. Yeah, it is. That's everything for the review part of the show. We're mildly impressed with Usyk, if you like. We want to see him stepped up, and I'm sure the next fight will be with a big name. Again, you can't really bash him for taking on Witherspoon. It was a real short notice job. He had 4 days for that fight. That's a tough thing to do for both men. Credit to both men. That is everything though, like I say, for the review part of the show. Just before we wrap up part 1, the first thing to do is to welcome our very first guest. Ladies and gentlemen, please welcome the Olympic silver medalist and undefeated professional. It is, of course, Mr. Shakur Stevenson. Shakur, welcome back on the show, my friend.
What's up?
What's up? So, Shakur, we last caught up in July. It was right before I think it was the Manzanilla fight at the time, which obviously didn't end up happening in the end. You boxed Alberto Guevara. You made really easy work of Guevara, a guy who had so much more pro experience than yourself. He went the distance with Leo Santa Cruz, with Emmanuel Rodriguez, with the huge punching Hugo Ruiz. Those guys couldn't knock him out. Yamanaka did stop him, but that was late in the fight. All these guys are established elite world level fighters. You stopped Guevara though in 3 rounds. Talk to me about that fight, and of course the impression you've made once again that your future is super duper exciting, young man.
I mean, that was a hometown fight. It was a good fight. I guess he took it on short notice, so I didn't really look at it like no crazy big fight. But I kind of felt like I did what I was supposed to do, and now we on to the next.
And last time we spoke, you started to laugh when I mentioned the possible Oscar Valdez fight. You wanted it, but the powers that be didn't want that fight to happen for whatever reason. You do, however, now have the chance to fight for his vacated WBO featherweight world title. How does it feel to get a chance here, Shakur, to become the youngest world champion right now in boxing?
I mean, it feels great. That's kind of like one of my goals that I wanted to complete. And it's not just about winning the title, it's about keeping it. So I'm kind of excited, but I know that I got to stay level-headed.
Absolutely. And, this I kind of hate to bring this up. If it's a bit sensitive, we don't have to really go into it, Shakur. But, you've obviously just recently lost your father. The biggest fight of your life is coming up, and this happens just a few weeks out from the fight. The timing couldn't have been much worse. Trying to get a positive out of a negative. Will you be able to use your father as perhaps some more added motivation moving forward, Shakur?
I mean, I kind of feel like I got all the motivation that I need, so I don't think that's going to make me more motivated than what I already am. So, I mean, stuff happens, but at the end of the day, I still got to stay focused and do what I do.
Yeah, absolutely. And like I say, I can only just imagine what that must have been like for you. Very sorry to hear the awful news. The fight does take place though in Reno, October 26th. What do you know about Joet Gonzalez, Shakur? Because a lot of guys over here don't really know too much about him, but he's a very good fighter.
Yeah, he's a good fighter. He's actually it was like a prospect list not too long ago. I think I was like number 4 in there. He was on that same list, like top prospects or top fighters 25 and under. So he's definitely a good fighter, and I'm gonna beat a good fighter coming October 26th.
And he's boxed a few guys that that are at a decent level. I don't think. I mean, this is obviously his big fight. I mean, you've boxed a few guys, I'd say, that they're thereabouts kind of world level. Do you see this as the toughest fight? I know there's obviously a world title at stake here, but is this the toughest fight of your pro career, or have you boxed guys that perhaps, had a bigger threat going in?
I think this is my toughest fight of my pro career, and I think this his toughest fight also. I can't really tell you that much. Like I think that it's a tough fight, but I think that Chris Diaz was tough too, though. So.
Yeah, I mean,
we'll see. We'll see who better.
Viral Simeon was supposed to be a tough one, but obviously you won that in fantastic fashion as well. Joet has actually, this is just for the listeners if they don't already know, Joet has got a brilliant track record against southpaws since he's turned pro. He's knocked every southpaw out that he's knocked every southpaw out that he's boxed within the first 5 rounds or something. I think he's boxed about 5 or 6.
Yeah, but
they haven't been you though.
But I was saying, it's a big difference from like a normal southpaw and somebody who actually know what they're doing.
Exactly. And Shakur, I want to get your reaction to last weekend's fight, if you watched it at all, between Warrington and Takuch. Did you happen to see it at all?
I watched the highlight, but that was another fight. I kind of didn't think he was on Josh Warrington's level at all. Like, I felt like that was an easy fight. He did what he's supposed to do, but...
Yeah, I mean, he had 3 back-to-back pretty tough fights, Frampton, Selby, and
he deserved a fight like that. So, but I kind of just felt like we can't look at no fight like that and be like, okay, he can do something with me or something. Because I feel like that's 2 different levels. I feel like when me and him fight, I hope after this fight me and him can fight basically.
Yeah, I was going to ask you that because Warrington has come out and actually said he believes world champions are seeming to run scared of him. I think he mentioned Leo Santa Cruz and Oscar Valdez, like they want to move up in weight to stay away from him. I know that you're not going to do that. You've talked about that fight being one of interest to you. I think that was at the stage though where you were kind of unsure which world title you were going to get at the time. You wanted to go down one of the 4 main routes. You didn't really care who you had to box to become world champion. Should you win and become WBO world champion, is that still a fight that interests you, or was it purely because he had a belt at the time?
Most definitely. I feel like you saying, like a lot of champions going up, whatever. I don't pay no mind to that. After this fight, I'm ready to move up to 130. But if I can fight him, I will stay and fight him, and we can unify. But if I can't get like no big fight after this, I don't want to be at 126 too long.
Okay, interesting.
But I definitely would love to fight Josh Warrington. I've been calling him out since when I knocked out that kid in Omaha. I've been calling him out since then. So I kind of feel like that'd be a big fight. It could be in England, it could be in New York, Vegas, wherever. I feel like I'm gonna dominate him. Like, he's not on my level.
I'd love to see that fight. And finally, coming down to the last couple questions, Shakur, I'm asking this question to everybody right now. Joshua versus Ruiz, the rematch, Saudi Arabia, December 7th. Who wins the rematch in your opinion, my friend?
I got Anthony Joshua. He slipped up and made some mistakes in that last fight. And people forget that before Anthony Ruiz got him hurt, Joshua had him hurt first, and he had dropped him first. So I think Joshua a better boxer. I kind of feel like he gonna win his titles back, and then they're gonna be talking about him versus Wilder again.
Okay. The whole boxing world, of course, will be tuned in for that one, December 7th in Saudi. And just finally, before I let you go, Shakur, I just really want to give you an opportunity just to send a message to your supporters over here in the UK. I know that you've got tons and tons of them. We all want to see you become world champion in just a matter of days now. What's your message, though, to the guys over here that pull for you in this fight and all the others?
Keep tuning in. Shakur Stevenson is going to take over boxing. Can't wait to become a world champion, and if I can, I would definitely come over to England for y'all and beat up on Josh Warrington for y'all. So, thank you, and just keep tuning in.
Keep tuning in for sure. Listen, Shakur, it is always a pleasure speaking with you, my friend. Best of luck out there on October 26th, and the next time we speak, God willing, I'll be speaking to the very new WBO featherweight champion of the world.
Yes, sir.
Okay, now it's time for part 2 on this week's show. This part, of course, the news part of the show. Ayaz, what you got?
Carl Frampton will fight Tyler McCreary on November the 30th on the Oscar Valdez undercard at the Cosmopolitan in Las Vegas.
Yeah, Carl Frampton, I think, kind of co-main eventing with Oscar Valdez. When the press release got sent, it said Carl Frampton and Oscar Valdez headline a super featherweight fight card or something like that, and it made me think, wow, they're fighting each other, brilliant fight. But no, Oscar Valdez takes on Andres Gutierrez, a guy that we know for fighting Abner Mares and getting beaten by him. Got a couple decent wins since then, but you know, a guy with an inflated record to a degree. I'm not saying he's overly padded, but that's Oscar Valdez's fight. And then, of course, you mentioned there Carl Frampton, 26-2 against Tyler McCreary, 16-0 with one draw. I don't know, you know, you look down his record again, and it's not the kind of guy we want to see Carl Frampton in with. You know, Carl Frampton as well, I'm pretty surprised he's even getting up for a fight like this. Carl Frampton was supposed to have that fight, I suppose, that was a drop down in level in was it Philadelphia, where that thing in the hotel, the ornament fell on his hand. So that was a kind of keep busy fight, because obviously he's coming off that loss to Warrington, and it didn't happen. So perhaps we'll give him a pass here. He is fighting an undefeated guy, but you know, it's just not the opponent we want to see him in with, you know. And he's a guy, Frampton, who I think has numbered days, if you like. I think his days are numbered. I want to see him in the big fights. I want him to kind of cash out, if you like, before he you know, gets, you know, a few too many fights and looks horrific and kind of tarnishes the end of his career, kind of thing. I would have liked to see him take on someone like an Oscar Valdez. I would have liked to see him in there with someone like a Kid Galahad, someone like even a Scott Quigg rematch, you know? Where's Scott Quigg, by the way? What is he doing? He seems like he's just disappeared off the face of the earth. Anyway, yeah, it is what it is. It's part of the news. I feel like I'm really negative recently. If I'm being negative, tweet me on Twitter and just let me know. Am I being too negative? Do I need to change? Let me know. Thanks for that piece of news, Ayaz. What's next?
Okay, the next news is that, where is it somewhere? Michael Condon will face Vladimir Nitkin on December the 14th at Madison Square Garden.
Yes, that of course is the rematch from the Olympics. It was supposed to happen earlier this year, I believe. It was Nikitin, and then of course Nikitin pulled out. The fight couldn't happen. I think it was the one. Was it the one in was it the one in Dublin? Might have been the one in Dublin, I think. Or was it Dublin, or was it?
It was meant to happen in Belfast.
Belfast, yes, you're right. Northern Ireland, yes. So, yeah, it didn't happen. He ended up fighting someone else. Can't remember who it was now. And, yeah, the rematch is on. So, hopefully Conlon can right the wrong and avenge that amateur loss.
Richard Comey will face Teofimo Lopez on that same card.
Yeah, Richard Comey, Teofimo Lopez, hoping to get Teofimo Lopez back on the show at some point in the near future. I don't think it will be this week. It will probably be next week. I've reached out to his people anyway, so he might end up on the end of this show, but probably not. Yeah, so we'll try and get him on perhaps next week or something like that.
And Terence Crawford will face Edgar Diaz Kavalauskas.
Yes, very good fight, you know. Kavalauskas obviously didn't look brilliant against... who did he get was it a draw? I think he got with Ray Robinson, the guy that Josh Kelly got a draw with. Was it a draw he got with Robinson? I think it was, yeah. So that's his one kind of minor blemish. Other than that, though, we saw against Josh Kelly how awkward Ray Robinson is. You know, no one gets an easy victory against him, or an easy night's work, really, you know. Your Dennis Ugas did beat him, he did stop him, but other than that, you know, he's a rough, tough kind of character from the streets of Philadelphia, and it's hard to look good against him. But you know, you've got to look back in Kavalauskas' career to perhaps David Avanesian, that fight there, you know, when he absolutely destroyed David Avanesian, and we saw David Avanesian destroy Kerman Leharaga for the second time the other week. So David Avanesian is a true top fighter, and what Kavalauskas did to him was just quite unbelievable, you know. So if he's on his A game, he provides a tough fight to Crawford. I think it will be quite tactical, but obviously you can't really pick against Crawford, who's arguably the best fighter in the world right now.
And that's it for the news.
Okay, thank you very much. Ayaz, moving now to the preview part of the show. Only 2 cards to mention. This one happens tomorrow at the Liacouras Center in Philadelphia, Pennsylvania, USA. 2 fights to mention on the bill. Louis Collazo, former world champion, 39-7, takes on Quadratio Abdukakarov, who is now 16-0. I think that's some kind of eliminator, actually, for a welterweight title. That's a 10-rounder there. Topping the bill, friend of the show, Alexander Gvozdyk, now 17-0. He takes on Artur Beterbiev, 14-0. It's for the WBC World Light Heavyweight title, which belongs to Gvozdyk. And, of course, Beterbiev puts his IBF World Light Heavyweight title on the line. It's a unification fight. It hasn't been picked up at the minute by any British broadcasting channel, which is a complete joke, to be honest. It is arguably one of the best fights of the year. You know, it's 2 undefeated champions putting their belts on the line in a unification. Both guys are knockout artists, and it's just not on TV, but we've got other terrible shows that are getting on TV. It is ridiculous that this fight hasn't been picked up. Box Nation need to get fights like this. I don't know what's going on over there. It's a top-ranked show, by the way, and it's just a completely brilliant fight. Obviously, Artur Beterbiev, every single person he's boxed as a pro, he's knocked out. Gvozdyk is a step up in class, though, for him, as is a step up in class, really, I suppose, for Gvozdyk this fight. I mean, he obviously holds the win over Adonis Stevenson, but that was a fight that people have got a bit of a blurred memory about, you know. Yeah, he did beat Adonis Stevenson, but he was losing the fight on the cards that night. You know, he did get the stoppage in the 11th round, not taking anything away from him. He weathered a bit of a storm himself. He lost a few rounds there, like I say. He took some punishment. It was a gutsy performance from Gvozdyk. He showed a lot of character there. But then again, Artur Beterbiev, you know, he's been down before. Callum Johnson really provided a test for him, and he got him out of there. So Beterbiev is tough as nails, and he takes on the Now. So I love this fight. Gvozdyk, obviously nicknamed the Now. It's a brilliant fight. Like I say, 14 knockouts from both guys. 14 knockouts from 17 wins for Gvozdyk, and like I say, Beterbiev 14-0, 14 knockouts, 28 knockouts between them. Someone you'd expect is going to sleep, but I tell you what, I've just got this feeling that it goes points, which is incredibly unpopular. I'm going to say Gvozdyk wins on points, but I've changed a few times this week. At first I thought Beterbiev might get the knockout. Now I'm leaning to Gvozdyk on points. The listeners, though, they disagree with me. They are going with, let me just quickly check. They're going with they're going with a Beterbiev knockout, which is what I thought originally. Ayaz, how do you see the fight playing out? Gvozdyk and Beterbiev, 2 complete beasts at 175.
Obviously, we know Beterbiev is a knockout artist, so is Gvozdyk. So if I'm going to go with it, I'm going to go with Gvozdyk to win on points, because I think he's the next big thing.
Okay, well, he's a pretty big thing at the minute. Obviously, working real well actually with Teddy Atlas. It's interesting how that partnership's working out. Really well by the looks of it. Really seems to be working for both guys there. That's just a cracking fight. I'm so annoyed that it's not on UK TV. I mean, what is going on? What are Box Nation doing? I used to love Box Nation. The only reason I had a TV in my house was for Box Nation. They've just gone downhill so much. This was their kind of fight. They would have definitely picked this up if it was 3 years ago. Come on. And the final bill to mention, it's on Sky, of course, at the Newcastle Arena in the UK on Saturday night. On the undercard, definitely one to watch over here. John Doherty, 6-0. No opponent just yet, I believe. He I think, trains out of the Sims gym, with Tony Sims and Peter Sims. I think he trains out of there. Very, very good fighter, by the way, John Doherty. Also on that bill, Savannah Marshall, 7-0. I thought it was supposed to be a world title eliminator for her, but her opponent hasn't been announced just yet, so perhaps that's fallen out of bed. That would be a real shame there for Savannah Marshall. Peter Fury had some aspirations of her fighting for a world title before the year was up when we had him on a month or so ago. That seems like it's probably not going to happen here. Joe Laws is on the bill as well, 7-0. He's been talking on a few YouTube channels about he wants to beat up Devin Haney. Interesting. Great fight on the undercard. There's the three main fights are brilliant fights, but let's start with this one here that's getting the least recognition of all. Lawrence Osueki, I think that's how it's said, Osueki, 9-0. He's in a 10-rounder against Ricky Summers, 16-2. Could be very interesting there. Osueki will definitely be made to answer some questions. You know, the record brilliant as it is at the minute, but it doesn't, of course, have the names that Summers has on there. I mean, his two losses are the big names, Andre Sterling and Frank Buglioni. But you know, he put up a good fight in both of those losses, so it should be real interesting there. Osueki, if he's the real deal, will win the fight. Ricky Summers, unfortunately, a little bit of a gatekeeper, really, that kind of domestic sort of level. These two fights, we've gone to the predictions on Ayaz. I'm going to come to you first here. Ted Cheeseman, 15-1 with one draw. Scott Fitzgerald, 13-0. The champion Cheeseman puts his British super welterweight title on the line over 12 rounds. Talk to me, Ayaz. Brilliant fight.
I think it's a brilliant fight, obviously. Scott Fitzgerald and Ted Cheeseman. But if I'm going to go with a winner, I'm going to go with Scott Fitzgerald, because I think after beating that Anthony Fowler, his stock has risen. And obviously a lot of people starting to realise it's Scott Fitzgerald. And if I'm going to go with a winner, I'm going to go with Scott Fitzgerald to win on points.
Scott Fitzgerald on points. Okay. The listeners are going with Scott Fitzgerald by KO. I can't see Scott Fitzgerald. I can't see Cheeseman getting knocked out. I can't see him getting knocked out. He's a tough guy. I can't see him getting knocked out in this fight. Fitzgerald does punch. You know, I can see Cheeseman sort of stupidly walking forward and you know, walking on to big shots throughout the fight. So I do lean to a Fitzgerald points win. But at the same time, Cheeseman's got that, you know, that constant pressure. And even though Fitzgerald, you know, he beat Anthony Fowler. It was a great fight. It was very, very close. The knockdown seemed to play a part, I think, on my card at the time. He seemed to be really, really ran out of gas at the end of that fight. And I just think Cheeseman's going to put the pressure on him big time, as he always does. So he really needs to make sure he keeps some fuel in the tank for those late rounds, because it could get quite bad for him. So I'm giving quite an in-depth breakdown here. But I think Cheeseman puts on the pressure. I think Cheeseman has a lot of success in the late rounds. Not sure it'll be enough though to beat Scott Fitzgerald and to get the decision, but I'll be trying to score that fight round by round. So I'm gonna whip in my own scorecard next week if it does end up going the distance. I think it probably will. If I have to say something, if I have to commit, I'd probably say Fitzgerald on points or Cheeseman by late KO. That's what I'm saying. That is what I'm saying. Cheeseman puts the pressure on that. You know, you need to be fit as a fiddle really to last that long, you know, because he'll keep coming forward all night long. And you know, he was only beaten by the Spaniard, forgot the guy's name for the minute, Sergio Garcia, I think it was. Only got beat by him, and that guy had amazing feet. I don't think Fitzgerald's got feet like him. You know, you need to be a good mover. You need to keep him at bay, kind of thing. Cheeseman, I keep getting them confused. You need to keep Cheeseman at bay. Should be a real hard task. Very, very interesting fight of the night, actually, I think, on that card. So yeah, I'm going to go Fitzgerald points, and you also said the same thing, Ayaz. And the main event, of course, Lewis Ritson, 19-1, headlining again in front of his home crowd. He takes on Robbie Davies Jr., completely identical record, 19-1. It's a 12-rounder. Ritson hasn't looked his complete killer self since moving up to 140. Robbie Davies Jr., a massive 140. I think the size factor comes into this fight a bit. Robbie Davies Jr., though, had a hard fight against Glenfoot. Obviously got stopped by the Polish guy. He come back and knocked him out, though, didn't he, in the rematch? Not sure if that was at 135 or 140 now, looking back, the Polish saga in Robbie Davies Jr. career. But yeah, I think the size factor is a little bit key here. I think Robbie Davies Jr. has a lot of success late on. I think he'd probably agree with me, to be honest, if he was sat here right now next to me. Ritson always starts fast. It's going to be interesting to see what Ritson starts like in this fight. Will he try and start fast and possibly empty the gas tank early, trying to get the big finish? or will he not? You know, will he pace himself, which he hasn't done very well, you know, in prior fights. Ritson could end up stopping him early, but I don't know, you know. I'm not too sure about that one. I think Ritson's the tougher of the two. I think Ritson's probably the bigger puncher of the two, but Robbie Davies is just bigger, and he's probably got a bit more experience, really. It's a brilliant fight, that fight, because, again, Ritson's only loss came at European level to Patera. Patera's a good fighter to a degree, you know. That's a tough fight, man. That is a tough fight. Oh, man. Do you know what? I'm going to go Ritson by knockout. I think I've chopped and changed as I've been chatting. I've convinced myself. I think Ritson stops him. I don't know. Sorry, I'm just going to go with a Ritson stoppage. I'm so indecisive on that one. I want to say no already. I want to say that Robbie Davies beats him on points. Oh, hang on. Go on, Ayaz. I'm going to throw it over to you real quick, and then I'm going to decide myself. The listeners are going with a Ritson KO. They're going with Ritson by KO as well.
Yep, I'm gonna agree with the listeners as well. I think I'm gonna go with Lewis Ritson to win by knockout.
I tell you what, then, just to be different, you're going with Ritson by KO. So are the listeners. I've flipped and flapped. I've chopped and changed. I've gone left and gone right, gone up and gone down. I tell you what, I'm gonna go with. I don't even know. I've changed more. I've changed my opinion so many times on this fight. I'm gonna go, and I'm completely going with this. I'm locking it down now. I'm not gonna change from this point onwards. Robbie Davies Jr. on points. That's what I'm saying. Robbie Davies Jr. on points. I think he probably will have a few moments, Ritson, where he checks the chin of Davies Jr. a couple of times, perhaps. But I think, all in all, Davies Jr. will probably weather the storm and end up winning on points. I think he's strong. His stronger moments probably happen in the later rounds, Robbie Davies Jr. So I'm going Davies Jr. on points, making it a little bit different from you guys. We don't all want to keep going for the same thing, all three of us, myself, you guys and the listeners. But yeah, that is about everything for the preview part of the show. Just before we wrap up the show entirely, the last thing to do is to welcome our second and final guest. Ladies and gentlemen, please welcome the former world title challenger. It is, of course, Mr. Joseph Jojo Diaz. Joseph, welcome to the show, my friend.
Thanks, man. I really appreciate it.
No problem whatsoever. It's great to have you here, Joseph. So, 30-1 now as a professional. Obviously, still with the aim of becoming a world champion in the very near future. Joseph, take me back to September 2016. You know, when you became the first and only man to stop Andrew Cancio, a man that currently holds a world title.
Yes, it was actually a really, really tough fight, and it was a fight that Golden Boy and myself and my manager, Ralph Heredia, really wanted to test myself, and we wanted to, you know, showcase to everybody that we wanted to take tough fights and to prove to everybody that we're not just, you know, taking the easy fights. And with me and my team, I wanted to always challenge myself and fight the toughest fighters, and just to prove to everybody that I'm a good fighter. And not only that, just to make myself feel more confident in everything after I did win him. So, I mean, when we fought, he was a tough fighter, applied a lot of pressure, but I just I used my boxing abilities, and I was just able to, you know, outsmart him and outbox him, and I felt like I was just the better fighter that night, the quicker fighter and the more elusive fighter. And I seen that I hurt him early, but I didn't want to, you know, press on the gas right away, because I seen that he is a very durable fighter. So I wanted to just take my time with him and just break him down slowly, and that's what I ended up doing. And in the last round, I started applying a little more pressure. I messed up his nose, and the corner ended up just stopping it because he just couldn't get to me or anything, and I ended up just beating him up pretty bad, and they ended up stopping the fight. Now he's a world champion, and unfortunately, I'm not a champion yet, but I'm striving to be a world champion. I'm working really hard, and I know my shot's coming in the near future.
Yeah, absolutely. And, you know, looking down your record today, I'd forgotten almost how deep your resume is. I mean, you've boxed some really good fighters pretty much every fight for the last 3 years or so. Obviously, the biggest of all those fights mentioned came in May 2018 against Gary Russell Jr. Obviously, you must have been upset to not win, but I'm sure that you must have learned learned a hell of a lot from that fight, because Gary Russell Jr. really is one of the most talented fighters in world boxing. And although he won the fight, you didn't disgrace yourself. It was a very competitive fight for such a big step up at the time from you.
Yes, it actually was. And like you said, my record is not padded. I've fought a lot of tough fighters and a lot of guys with the experience. And when I was going into the Gary Russell fight, I thought I had all the tools and all the abilities to overcome him. Yeah, he's fast, and yeah, he's a world champion, but I was hungry, and I knew that I could overcome him and beat him. But unfortunately, things didn't turn out as planned. I was applying a lot of pressure. His speed is incredible. I mean, he don't hit hard, but he keeps active, and with his speed, it just keeps you second guessing when he's putting a lot of hands on you. So it kind of just blinds you and kind of makes you sidetracked from your actual plan and from your actual goal, because you don't want to be getting hit, and he's applying all that pressure. But with me, I feel like I could have overcame him. I feel like I honestly could have beat him, and that's what gets me down and out and really down on myself, because I know that I'm the better fighter. I just really didn't perform as I should have. I didn't take the risks and the chances that I should have done, knowing that it was a world championship fight, and knowing that I was, ever since I was a little kid, I was looking to become a world champion, and I feel like I didn't take it to the next level, and I just fought the same fight. I didn't adjust, and I wasn't able to land the body shots that I wanted to, because the referee would separate us right away. So overall, it was just a great learning experience for me. I tasted defeat already, and now I'm never going to taste defeat again. I'm very hungry, and I'm very motivated to become the champion that I'm destined to be. And whatever champion it is I'm going to fight next, I will be champion. I will overcome them. Gary Russell, he's a hell of a fighter. I wish him nothing but his utmost respect, and I wish him nothing but the best in his career. And I just thank God for giving me the opportunity, and I just know it was a learning experience for myself.
And again, obviously, you went right back in for another world title shot after that against Jesus Rojas. Obviously, you won the fight but failed to make the weight, so you were ineligible to win the title. You were only overweight by 0.5 pound. It's such a small amount of weight. I'm guessing you must have been totally dried out. You must have been gutted.
Oh, I was. It was insane, man. It was really, really hard for me to make 126 pounds. I literally, when I fought Gary Russell Jr., I was in the sauna literally 10 minutes before the weigh-ins, trying to make the weight, and I was shadowboxing, and I was weak and fatigued, and right when the weigh-in started, I jumped out of the sauna, jumped on the scale, and I was 126 on the nose, and I just ran to the weigh-ins and made the weight. With Jesus Rojas, I was planning on moving up in weight. I was already planning on, but Oscar De La Hoya and Golden Boy Promotions gave me another opportunity to fight for a world title and to be a world champion. So me and my team, myself, I just decided to, battle making the weight and try to make 126 pounds one more time, so I could become the champion. And I know that it was an opportunity that Golden Boy and them put in front of me. So I really wanted, not to let them down or anything. And I had a really successful training camp. The week of the fight, I was about 5 pounds over, and I was making weight good, but I didn't have any body fat in me. I couldn't sweat anymore. And literally the last day before the weigh-ins, I was 127. I was just 1 pound over, and usually I sleep off the pound, but for some reason I just was really, really stressed, was dehydrated, and I couldn't sleep. I was just up thinking the whole night, thinking about the fight, thinking about drinking, thinking about the liquids, and just extremely, extremely dehydrated. So I only got me like 2 hours sleep. I woke up the next day, the day of the weigh-ins, and I was 126.8. I only lost 2 ounces, and it was just really bad, because I had my team come over, my strength and conditioning coach, and I called my manager, and I called everybody just to let them know what was going on, that I'm still 8 ounces over, what should we do. And it was my fault by choosing this. I should have just went to the sauna and I actually make the weight again, but I decided to do something completely different, something that I never done before, and I did the Epsom salt bath. They said that the Epsom salt bath really knocks out the last few pounds. It just makes you extremely weak, but I can make the weight, and I won't have to, suffer as much. So I had my team put the Epsom salt bath and everything with me, and I was in the Epsom salt bath for about 15 minutes, and right when my coach was like, yo, like, when you try to get up, your legs are probably gonna be weak or something like that, so just be careful because you're gonna get lightheaded. I was like, okay. So when they were trying to lift me up, I was done. I collapsed. I passed out. I hit my head on the tub, and they carried me. They were fanning me. They were putting ice packs on me and everything. And I was just really, I was like practically almost like I was gone, man. And it was a tough time for me at that time. And I just told them I still wanted to make the weight. So I was like, let me see how much I weigh. So I go and I check my weight, and I only lost 2 ounces. I was 126.6, and I was extremely dehydrated and weak. I couldn't even get up. I couldn't move or anything like that. So I ended up telling my team that I'm not going to be able to make the weight. Everybody agreed. We went to the weigh-ins, and I was trying to make a poker face, not to show everybody how weak, how hurt, how dehydrated, how thirsty I was. And I honestly just like putting up a front, smiling and everything like that. When I got on the scales, I was 6 ounces over still. The Golden Boy and my team came up to me and told me, do I want to try to make the weight again? I told them, yeah. So they gave me an hour to actually try to make the weight. I was still weak and stuff, but I went to the 24 hours in downtown LA, and I got in the sauna, was sweating. I started shadowboxing a little bit. Then I got in again, and when I got in, I started sweating a little bit, but the thing was I was already dehydrated where all my nerves just started crunching up. I was in the sauna, and my fingers just started crunching and like clenching together, and I couldn't move, and I started like going into like a weird state. My body just wasn't functioning anymore, and I screamed for my team. I screamed for help, and they came in and they grabbed me and they took me out. And I just told them, like, man, fuck that. Like, my health is more important. I'm not gonna fucking be jeopardizing my life or anything like that anymore, especially if I'm in a fight still. So I ended up going back to the thing, and I was only 0.4 ounces over, but I didn't make the weight, and Jesus Rojas wanted to cancel the fight because the WBA organization, when you're a champion and the opponent don't make the weight and you make the weight, you could just keep the check and you don't have to fight. They give you the fight check still. So he was already guaranteed his fight purse. So he was like, why would I fight you if I'm going to be guaranteed the fight purse already? I mean, I did my job. You didn't do your job and all that stuff. So he ended up being like a business and like a complete asshole, him and his team. And they're like, where if we'll only fight you if we get 50% of your purse. And at that time, I wasn't making as much. And I agreed to all the terms. I let him take the 50% of my purse. I let him do all that stuff because at the end of the day, I know that it was my fault that I didn't make the weight. And it was such a big event in LA. I really had a lot of people looking forward to the fight and stuff. So I don't want to let anybody down. And I still wanted to showcase to everybody that I could beat the guy and that I should be champion. So I tried to rehydrate as much as I could. Me and my father and stuff, we hydrated. I got rest. Everybody wanted me to cancel the fight still, but I still wanted to just prove to everybody I was going to be okay. I ended up going into the fight, and I just adjusted, man. I knew that my body was weak. In the first round, I could already just tell that, like, whenever I would throw a lot of combinations, my body would just feel fatigued. So my strategy with Jesus Rojas, knowing that he is a aggressor and, like, he likes to he's a puncher, when I felt his punches, I was like, okay, he don't hit that hard, so I'm just gonna throw punches and bunches. Whenever he throws, I'm just gonna tee out like 5 or 6 combinations, win the rounds, and then just win the rounds and just get out of this fight with ease. And that's what I did. I ended up just adapting, winning the fight, and it was unfortunate that I wasn't champion, but like I said, it was a learning experience for me, and I'm very glad that all this happened to me because it just made me a stronger person mentally, a stronger person as a fighter. It makes me want to be better. It makes me take my job a lot more serious. And not only that, I'm fighting at a bigger weight now, so I have no stress making 130 at all anymore. And yeah, I just feel like God planned everything out, and all that just happened for a reason. If I would have won Jesus Rojas, I probably would have had to defend it a couple times, and who would have known what would happen there. with my body and with my health and stuff like that. So I'm just very fortunate, and I'm happy where I'm at right now, and I know that my shot's coming again. And like I said, I'm training very, very hard, and now we're going to be fighting for a world title at 130, and I'll be champion there.
That is one of the most craziest stories I've ever heard, Joseph. Thank you so much for going in such detail like that. But that is insane. I didn't know all of that. So, like I say, thanks for letting me know that. That's crazy. You mentioned there you've moved up to super feather, 3 wins out of 3, including becoming the first man to stop Freddie Fonseca. You kind of answered the question already there, but you clearly feel a lot stronger and more complete at this weight, obviously.
Oh, absolutely. I mean, at 130, I feel like I'm at my best. I mean, I feel a lot stronger in there. Not only stronger, I feel more alert. I feel more elusive. My combinations are flowing good, and I just feel like a complete fighter at 130. And I honestly think that nobody could beat me at this weight when I'm at my best. And everything else is going good. Like I said, I got past my last fight. I got an injury in the first round. My last fight, I thought I broke my hand. I couldn't throw it as much, so I was just jabbing, using head movement. It was kind of like a sparring match because I really couldn't throw my left hand after the first round of my last fight. So I was just in there trying to win the fight and try to win the round because I want to jeopardize my big fight with Tevin Farmer. So I just adjusted and had to do it. And now I'm getting rested. I will be fighting Tevin Farmer hopefully early or late January. So I'm just making sure that my hand is 100%. So when I go into the fight, I have no doubt that I'm gonna go and be victorious come fight night.
And obviously, boxing is such a entertainment business. You know, there's lots of things that boxers do to get attention. You know, it can be moves in the ring, it can be, you know, fast cars, crazy stuff like that. I know that you chose to dye your hair a pretty random color, Joseph. What was the reason behind that, and what actual color was it? Because it just looked like, with all due respect, something that my daughter would draw at nursery.
Oh, that's funny, man. Yeah, my head looked like a snow cone the fight night, and then my last fight I had like a cheetah print on my head too. So I just get the design because like at the end of the day, I love doing the different things, and I myself just feel like I just do whatever makes me happy, and I'm just gonna do whatever I feel is right, and express myself, and to show everybody that, I mean, you could do anything in life. I mean, you could be anything you want. Don't let anybody criticize you or judge you, and that's basically what I did. And I also like reggaeton music and stuff, and J Balvin and Bad Bunny are like one of my favorite artists in that genre. So I really wanted to, you know, look up to them, and they always dye their hair crazy stuff. So I was like, man, I'm going to do this in the boxing community and start a movement. Hopefully I do. And I did. I seen a couple of other fighters, young fighters and stuff, start dyeing their hair and shit. So it was pretty cool that like I started that little trend.
Yeah, it's pretty cool. It is pretty cool. You mentioned there this fight with Tevin Farmer. It's a fight that you've been chasing for quite a while. You know, there was a period where both camps seemed to want the fight, but we weren't really hearing anything in terms of advanced talks. There was no announcements. It looked like perhaps it's not going to happen. I'm even a little bit surprised to hear you say it's looking like happening in the month of January. That's real soon. That's round the corner. What can you tell us? I mean, how advanced are we right now in negotiations, if you can talk about stuff like that?
Yeah, we're actually really advanced. We're actually at the point of Eddie Hearn already sent an offer to us, and he sent the location, he sent the date, and we just haven't agreed on the offer yet, but we're agreeing on all the other terms, and I'm happy what date it is, because I know that it's going to give me some time to actually be at my best. And the location is good as well, and I just want my shot. So things are still getting worked out as far as the numbers and stuff like that. But at the end of the day, we are gonna fight, and I'm gonna take them out, man. I really want to prove to everybody that I just want to fight the best, and I know that Tevin Farmer is the best at 130, and I want to challenge myself, because that's what I do. I always challenge myself to the extreme, and I want to just not take any easy way out, and not take any easy route out. And I just want to challenge myself and fight the best. And I know Tevin Farmer since Gervonta Davis moved up, I think he is the best at 130 right now. So I want to take his belt. And we are in negotiations. They already sent the offer and everything. So the fight is going to happen. Now it's just a matter of just expressing it and letting the world know that the fight's going to happen pretty soon. So maybe in a couple weeks, the fight is going to be finalized, and it's going to be out on social media and stuff.
Excellent. We cannot wait for that. Tevin's been on the show many, many times before. What was it about Tevin that you just wanted to fight him, it seemed, for a long time? I mean, Gervonta Davis was at the weight at the time where you really wanted Tevin. Obviously, you've got Miguel Berchelt, another guy who a lot of people, especially from Mexico, would say he is the number one at 130. What about Tevin just attracts you? Because he's a tough customer, He's a guy that can box his backside off, may not be the biggest puncher, but he's a real slick boxer. Not a guy that you can really look good against too easily. No one really has done since he's started taking boxing seriously, if you like.
Yeah, absolutely. Tevin's one hell of a fighter, but that's the thing about me. I know that he's a good fighter, and I know that he's a good boxer, but I'm a really good boxer as well. When I'm at my best, I feel like I'm unstoppable, and I feel like nobody could beat me. And I honestly think that nobody has honestly seen the best Joseph Diaz yet. And I feel like when I fight Tevin Farmer, people are going to doubt me and people are going to underestimate me, but I'm going to be 110% as far as physically, mentally, and just zoned and locked in because, like I said, for me, Tevin Farmer, he's a champion and he's already succeeded and he's accomplished what he's wanted to accomplish, and I know that he has ambition to accomplish more. But with me, man, I already had 2 title shots. I had 2 opportunities to become a world champion. It's sink or swim for me, and I know that I'm not going to let this opportunity pass me. No matter who is in front of me from here on out, I'm not going to let them defeat me. I'm going to do everything possible to beat them. And going into the fight with Tevin, we're going to strategize, and we're going to have a great game plan to overcome him, to defeat him. And after that, then I'll fight the other unified champions. That's what I really want to do. I already talked to my team and my management that once I beat Tevin or once I do become world champion, I want to unify titles. I either want to unify with Andrew Cancio or Rene Alvarado, whoever wins that fight, and then go after Jamal Herring and stuff. My vision is to become a two-time unified champ at 130 by the end of 2020, and I'm not going to stop or do anything. I'm going to do everything possible to make that dream happen for me.
And I just want to ask you, out of the champions right now, obviously you've got Farmer. You've said he is, in your opinion, the number one. Who is number 2, 3, and 4 out of Davis, out of Cancio, not Davis, he's moved up, as you say. Cancio, Herring, and Berchelt. Where do you rank those guys 2, 3, and 4? Yes,
I think Tevin Farmer is ranked number 1 due to his boxing skills and his ring IQ. I really think he's very slick and very smart in there, and he's a slickster. He's a great fighter. Number 2, I think it's Miguel Berchelt. Miguel Berchelt is very under the radar. A lot of people don't talk highly about him or anything, but he has an awkward style. He's kind of rangy, but he hits hard, and he throws with bad intentions every single fight. So he's a hell of a fighter as well. Number 3, I think it would be Jamal Herring. Jamal Herring is a fighter that I grew up with and I went to the Olympics with, and to see him drop down to 130 and see him working hard and stuff like that and improving, and seeing how, because he's a hard worker, I think that it's going to be hard for him to lose that title because of his work ethic. And number 4, I would go with Andrew Cancio. I think Andrew Cancio, he's a hell of a fighter. He's young. I mean, he's a hungry fighter, but I think he has a lot of flaws, and I think he opens up. He opens up too much, and I just think that with the right opponent or a hard-hitting opponent or a smart fighter, I think that they would overcome Andrew Cancio easy. So, that's my rankings right there. I think it's Tevin Farmer, then it's Miguel Berchelt, Jamal Herring, and then it's Andrew Cancio after that.
I love the way you answered that, because I ask questions similar to this. Who do you think's number 1, 2, 3, whatever? And people just say, I think it's Jamel Herring, then it's Bechelt. But I like the way how you've broke down each fighter individually. That's a brilliant answer there. And you're right in saying, especially about Jamel Herring, to see him drop down and achieve, a world title at 130 is a brilliant thing. Obviously, such a nice guy, Jamel Herring. Big friend of the show on this show. Coming down to the last couple of questions for you now, Joseph. I'm going to put you on the spot a tiny bit here, but we like to ask this question to everyone that we speak to from overseas. I don't know if you know too much about the history of UK boxing, but I want to ask you, who is your favourite UK fighter? It can be from any era. It can be a guy that's still boxing today. It can be a guy who retired 150 years ago, if you know that much. Who comes to your mind when I ask you that question?
You know what? I think Joe Calzaghe is one of my favorite fighters, man. He was undefeated. He had his father training him just like me. Grew up with his father training him, and he achieved a lot, man. He had a crazy, awkward style, and he was a hard worker, man. He threw a lot of punches, and just the way he used to dictate the pace inside every single fight. I mean, he fought hell of a fighters. He fought Bernard Hopkins. He fought, I think he fought Roy Jones too. And I mean, these guys are very, very good, slick fighters and intelligent fighters. And Joe Calzaghe, his awkward style and the way he would deliver his punches and throw his punches in different angles and very he had a great arsenal, and he had great footwork and great ring generalship inside there. And I just think that he was one hell of a fighter, and I really respect him because he did his thing. He made his money. He did all his accomplishments, and then he got out of there safe and sound. And boxing is a very, very tough sport where it is you really got to invest all your money, and you really got to start doing things right when you do have that chance, when you do start making those big bucks. Because when you're done, when it's all said and done, boxing is only a temporary thing in your life. And you got to make sure that your family and everything is well off, and your mental health is okay as well. And I feel like Joe Calzaghe did all that, and I really respect him. And I know that he's one hell of a fighter, man. I think I'm going to watch some YouTube videos of him tonight.
Yeah, that's a very popular answer. A lot of people say Joe Calzaghe, obviously one of, if not the best fighters that's ever come out of Britain. And the final real question for you. I'm asking this again to everyone that we're speaking to over the last few weeks. Joshua versus Ruiz. The rematch takes place in December in Saudi Arabia. Not many people picked Ruiz to win the first one, but after seeing how the first one played out, a lot of people are now picking Ruiz to do the double and get the win once again in the rematch. How do you see the rematch playing out, though?
The rematch is going to be very, very tough. I think it all depends on how Joshua is mentally going into the fight. I honestly think that he wasn't right in the first fight, and he hurt Andy Ruiz, but I think he was giving Andy Ruiz too much respect. And I think if Anthony Joshua goes in there extremely confident and knowing that he has a lot to lose, and that he is the bigger fighter, and that he could overwhelm Andy Ruiz if he applies that pressure and just bites down and lands a big shot, I think that he could overcome it and take his titles back. But I think that if Anthony Joshua has that doubt in him, not even a doubt, but just in the back of his mind of him getting knocked down, of him getting hurt in the first fight, and he don't want to get hurt like that again, or he don't want to get hit like that again, I think he's going to second guess his abilities. And I think if he does that going into the fight, I think Andy Ruiz is just going to go out there and do the same thing he did in the first fight. So I think it just all depends on Anthony Joshua's mental state going into that fight. Andy Ruiz is one hell of a fighter, and he's overcame a lot of obstacles, man. Just to see him succeed like that, I really am pushing for him to win again, because he's a Mexican American, but his background and everything, man, just to see that he actually got that dream going. He's the first Mexican heavyweight to ever accomplish that goal. I mean, it's history in the making, and I'm very honored to just be living this and to be watching him perform. And so I think it's going to be one hell of a fight, but I think my personal choice is Andy Ruiz is going to win, probably late stoppage again.
A fight we will all be watching. May the best man win, of course. And just a brilliant fight, one of the best fights of 2019. The first one was a cracker, like I say, and everyone will be tuning in for that one. It's a brilliant way to end the year on a high if you like the heavyweight division. And finally, Joseph, just before I let you go, have you got any closing words just to our listeners? Obviously, over here in the UK, boxing fans are almost famous for supporting real, true fighters. You are one. I'm sure you've received tons and tons of messages and love from the UK. What's your message to your fans from over here?
To all my fans in the UK, I just want to say thank you guys for all your support, and I promise you guys I'm delivering you guys very, very great fights now, man. I'm very hungry and I'm very eager to get back inside the ring and to become the champion that I am, and I really appreciate all the support, man. I mean, boxing in the UK is very, very huge, and I really love the fact that they all come out and support every single fighter, man. And it's just an honor that knowing that I do got UK fans, and I was in London for the Olympics and stuff, and I had a lot of love there. And I really appreciate all the support once again, and thank you guys for having me on the show, and I'm really looking forward to delivering you guys some great, great fights in the near future.
Okay, listen, Joseph, it's been a real pleasure speaking with you, my friend. Best of luck with what's next for you. I'll certainly be keeping my eyes peeled for an announcement real soon. Thank you for your time once again, and we shall catch up right after January.
Sounds good, Joey. You have a good one, man. Thank you so much for having me. I'll talk to you soon.
Okay, and this wraps up episode 209 of the BoxHard Podcast. I've been your host, Joey Coastman. Ayaz Sumra has been Ayaz Sumra. A massive thank you to our two guests on this week's show, the Olympic silver medalist and the undefeated pro, Shakur Stevenson, and of course the former featherweight world title challenger, Mr. Joseph Diaz Jr. The prediction league currently stands at myself on the lead, or in the lead with 17 points. Ayaz and you, the listeners, are tied on 11 points. Well done to you guys for picking Warrington to win by KO. That was the only correct prediction from the entire weekend between all of us. So a point gained while myself and Ayaz sat in the same spot. This weekend another 3 points are up for grabs, so best of luck with that. There has been one or two pieces of news break whilst we've been recording the show. Frank Warren has announced a card that will take place on November 30th in Birmingham. Sam Bowen will defend his British title against Anthony Kakachi. The undefeated Lerone Richards takes on the undefeated Lennox Clark for the vacant super middleweight British title. Zolani Tete defends his WBO bantamweight world title against John Real Casimero. That's the guy that actually knocked Charlie Edwards out on the Brook vs. Golovkin undercard. Chris Jenkins defends his British title against Liam Taylor. The undefeated Sam Maxwell fights the undefeated Connor Parker, and the undercard will also feature the young undefeated prospects Dennis McCann and Shabazz Massoud. What a night of boxing that's going to be there in Birmingham. Unbelievable fights there, all on one card. And I hate to do it, but we do end the show on a real sad note. The sport of boxing has lost yet another warrior in the year 2019. I'm saddened to say that Patrick Day, after being knocked out by Charles Conwell on Saturday night on the Usyk undercard, he has succumbed to his injuries and has passed away. It is, of course, absolutely devastating, and although I didn't know Patrick Day personally, everyone I hear talk about him, they all say he was a real nice guy. So rest in peace from all of us, Mr. Patrick Day. And I also send my support in this tough time to Charles Conwell, who obviously didn't want this to happen. You know, he's said a few times now he wishes he could go back in time. He posted a real tear-jerking letter actually about everything. So just want to say God rest Patrick Day's soul. That is about everything though, my friends. Enjoy the action this weekend. Stay safe, and we'll catch you all again next week. Thank you so much for listening.